I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Recently in Texas, there was a FedEx driver delivering a package in a rural area of Texas, and obviously this young man who's a FedEx driver spotted a young girl, 7 years old or so, and came back, kidnapped her, and I suppose molested her as well. That hasn't been reported. Killed her, but they have caught him, and he has confessed to the crime. And that's a heinous and awful thing to do. And the other thing is the school shootings, the one in Uvalde. It appears that the police officers in Uvalde did not have the courage to face the bullets that were slicing open the heads of those 8 and 9-year-old children in that 4th grade class down there in Uvalde. That's very painful. I don't know if I'll ever get over it. But there's something that is equally painful that has happened right here in Harlem, and that has been the raping of Harlem by, if you will, Japheth or white people who, like the young boy that shot up the school in Uvalde, or the FedEx driver that raped that little girl and killed her. That is what has happened to Harlem. It has been viciously and maliciously and violently taken over by white people. It is a sin and a shame, and they've done it mercilessly. They've shown no mercy. They bulldozed over churches. They paid off the preachers, ran them out the pulpit. They bulldozed over the culture centers, and they stopped at nothing. And they have chased black people into shelters. The shelter population now, as a result of Fort Greene, Bed-Stuy, Harlem, has become more populous than in the history of the world. The gentrification has pushed whole families. Years ago, it was just men that were in shelters, but these white, Japheth, racist, if you will, twisted mind gentrifiers have come up here, and they pushed whole families into shelters, men and women living there with their children. But I've got something I want to say. What they have done is merciless. I don't think what happened with the slave trade in Africa was as ugly as what these white people have done with the aid of the pinch-nosed Negro. Now, the pinch-nosed Negro is a Negro who want to be white. He tries to talk white. He pinches his nose so his voice don't sound as coarse because of his thick lips, his thick tongue, and his big nose. The air coming out of there is very coarse. So he pinches his nose so the air will squeeze out so he'll sound like a white man. The pinch-nosed Negro and the sellouts like Al Sharpton have allowed these white people to come up here and to economically and spiritually rape us. I mean, they have raped us economically, spiritually, culturally, and they have raped us morally. These white people, they've come with no morals except blood-sucking. They have raped Harlem is what they've done. They have spiritually, economically, let me phrase it that way, economically, spiritually, they have raped and left the families for dead, left us in the woods to die, the way that driver left that 7-year-old girl to die. But God has sent me here, and I'm asking you to help me fight these spiritual, cultural, economic, moral rapists. They're not only racist, but they're racist rapists. I'm asking you to help me. How long will you stand there, watch me here in Harlem, walk by this church every day, read the sign, and say you approve, but you've never stepped inside to submit yourself to the authority that God has given? How long? How much longer are you going to let it happen? How much longer? You know, when the raping first started, the economic raping first started, and the theft first started, said, well, it's just puppy love. You know, it ain't, they know, but this was This was economic raping of our community. I'm going to ask you, how much longer you going to let me stand here and fight? You see they're trying to foreclose our church, and you haven't heard one word about this on the news, haven't heard a word about it in the Amsterdam news, haven't heard a word about it in any news. Well, I put it in the New York Times twice, but you haven't seen it on television. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why they have not publicized this church. And I'm an outspoken, nationally, internationally known person, outspoken. And the reason why they haven't put it in the news is because they know they're wrong. The reason why they won't put the Columbia News, won't no local newspaper even talk about it. Now they'll talk about the gardens that they're trying to grow, or rats in New York City, a subway crime, but they have not mentioned in years the battle that I've been fighting them through this foreclosure action. These racist rapists, these racist economic, cultural, moral rapists is who these white people are, with these pinch-nosed Negroes shining their shoes. But I will tell you this, I want you to hear this, that the Lord has sent me here. And the reason why they haven't publicized it is because they know they're wrong. And if this information gets out, if this hits CNN or MSNBC or even Fox News, if this hit and people see what they're doing, you know, that it would probably cause, and they are scared of me. I'm telling you, Pharaoh Eric Adams is shaking in his boots because he knows I got power. He knows I'm a man. He knows I can't be bought. I'm like Shirley Chisholm. He knows I can't be bossed up, bought. Eric Adams is afraid of me. He is. The local politicians are afraid of me. They saw what I did and organized in Harlem, and they know in their hearts that they have raped, economically raped, morally raped. They know they've done it. They know they're wrong. These racist white people they know that they are wrong, and they scared of me. They are afraid of me. They wake up in cold sweats at night thinking that, knowing that I got God's word in my mouth, and they keep praying. They keep praying that you don't wake up to what they're doing. They keep praying. But you know, the man that raped that little girl, molested he killed her, that little 7-year-old girl. He confessed. I want to say this. You walk up and down 125th Street and all you see are black faces. You don't see no white faces. If there is one, it's in the stores. And most of the stores on 125th Street, they're low end. They're about as low end as you get for a main thoroughfare. You see some light-skinned faces in there, but that's Mexicans and Latinos. You might see 1 or 2 white faces in there, but for the most part, all up and down 125th Street, that's now called Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, is as black as an ace of spades, black as 1,000 midnights down in a cypress swamp. Harlem ain't turned white. Even though these white people have come up here and economically and spiritually raped, they have spiritually raped this community. They've economically raped. They've morally raped this community. They haven't been able to turn it white. And I'll say this. I'll say this as well. God has cursed them. His name is Jesus. He's cursed and blinded them. In not too many days, I'm waiting to hear about the disease and death of many people associated with Mellon Bank. I'm waiting. It's going to happen. I'm waiting to hear about the disease and death of many people that are associated with the American Baptist churches. I'm waiting to hear, and you're going to hear about it. If you hear about it before I do, let me know. That these people were American Baptists and Mellon Bank that have raised their hand and lifted their skirt to participate in the rape, the economic rape. You're going to hear about it. But one other thing is that this community is blacker now than it was before gentrification. I want to tell you the absolute stomp down, honest to God truth. I want to tell you, though you got a lot of white people who bought up a lot of these brownstones are living in them from 110th Street to 155th Street, but I want to tell you something. I'm going to tell you, come up here. It's almost unbelievable. Harlem is blacker now. Got more black faces now. A whole lot of black faces are sleeping on the street. Maybe that's why. But Harlem is blacker now than it was 50 years ago. The only thing that the people are still here. They're living in shelters, but Harlem is blacker now. And they're building these high-rise buildings, investing in all this, building hotels. And who gonna come live in them? Who gonna come to take? Harlem is blacker now than it was 50 years ago. God has not let their sperm turn Harlem white. Had a woman participating with us, helping us when I first got started with No Do No Ring. She caught my attention because she had a sign that said, "Stop bleaching Harlem." Well, honey, let me tell you something. Harlem ain't turned white yet. I'm telling you, come on up here. It's a phenomenon because and the reason why Harlem has not turned white is because of me. Harlem is just as black. Harlem is just as black now as it was before these racist, spiritual, economic, moral racists came up here to rape her. Harlem is still black. Now, I'm saying that the rape is an economic one. I didn't say it was a physical one. Let's be clear. But you can use that adjective to indicate, or adverb, or whatever part of speech it is, to indicate the economic impact. How much longer? The reason why Harlem is still black and the reason why that God has not given them the victory, and he ain't going to give them. They can build all the buildings. They can buy all the brownstones. They can do what they want to do, but God ain't going to give it to them. They're just wasting their money. They're wasting their money. God is not going to give it to them. He ain't going to give it to them. He ain't going to do it because of me. Now, I'm going to stand up here now and tell you the reason why Harlem is still black and the reason why there ain't no peace in Harlem, the reason why restaurants are closing, the reason why the banks are sending money here because really what they do, a bank make a loan to build a multi-million-dollar building, then write it off and sell it and bundle it and sell it to China or somebody, and they got their money because they don't care. But they come up here and they know that this community ain't going to never be no Park Avenue. Harlem ain't gonna never be no Fifth Avenue. Harlem ain't gonna never be no East Side. Harlem ain't gonna never be no so-called white man's paradise. It's always gonna be black. Because of me. God sent me. The Lord sent me. So I just want to ask you how much longer you gonna stand out there and not come in here and help me. By the way, I've had a lot of people come and want to help me, give me some advice and counsel on, how to deal with the Mellon Bank, how to deal with the foreclosure. And here, there are two things I would ask of you, and I want to do it publicly. If you really want to help, come join this church. Come sit down and let me lead you. Come join me. Let me lead the fight. Come sit down and join the church. And the other thing is, if that's difficult for you to do because of distance, just start sending your finances here to help me. You know I need money. But Harlem ain't gonna be white. Harlem ain't gonna never be white. I don't care how many high-rise buildings, apartments, brownstone, how many churches they bulldoze over, how many churches they pastors that they pay off. I don't care how many shelters they build. It ain't never gonna be white, and it ain't gonna never be nothing until it becomes ATLAH. Now, let me leave you with this. Don't tear down those buildings that you built because the same people that are sleeping on the street now in Harlem, sleeping on 125th Street, on cardboard, sleeping in shelters, I'm going to lead them. I'm going to lead them to sleep in these luxury apartment buildings that y'all going to run from the way the Arabs ran when David Ben-Gurion marched into Jerusalem years ago to take back the nation of Israel. They ran and left the pot cooking on the stove and the coffee hot in the coffee maker. Y'all gonna run. You're gonna run from these. When God raises up these people that are not sleeping on the street that you're walking by, stepping over, God gonna raise them up. And they're gonna be sleeping in your beds. That's right. They're gonna be dining in your dining room because I'm gonna lead them and teach them how to do it. That's right. Now, those of you who are on the short end, those of you who've been a part of this economic, spiritual, moral rape, come on over here, sit down. Don't be telling me nothing about no Al Sharpton, telling me nothing about no Obama. These people ain't done nothing to help you. You out there sleeping on the damn street, you talking about Al Sharpton. Living in a mansion downtown on the east side with white folk. Talking about Obama. Got 2 mansions, one up in Martha's Vineyard, one out there in Honolulu, and in Chicago too. You talking about Obama, and you out there sleeping on the street. You must be some kind of a new fool. You must be some kind of new fool. Or you talking about Jay-Z, who got an $88 million house out there in Bel Air, or LeBron James with a $34 million house in Beverly Hills. You must be some kind of new fool sleeping on the street, talking about them your leaders. You must be some kind of a new fool. At any rate, I'm waiting. Come on in here. We worship on Saturday. Come on in here, sit down, and listen. Come on in here. I'm waiting for you. I'm the Lord's servant.